They called it the Impossible Pact. It began with a war that no one could win. For 1,000 years, the galaxy's core was a chessboard of ancient powers. The crystalline halcyons who sculpted cities from starlight, the vast Brothan whose living fleets outnumbered some entire planetary populations, the silent Threen who spoke only through their machines, and the human world still young, stubborn, and not quite trusted by anyone. The Accord had kept peace through strict codes and uneasy treaties, but old grudges simmered, and everywhere tension grew. No one remembered who fired the first shot. Maybe it was an accident, automated defense gone wrong, a misinterpreted gesture, or simple fear. But the result was devastation. 3 systems burned, millions lost, and every major power vowing never to back down. Born on the mining outpost Ganymede 3, she was famous for fixing things nobody else would touch and talking her way out of disaster. Her crew was small: Jox, a Brothan deserter who'd renounced violence; Mira, a Threen cyborg with a penchant for human sarcasm; and Santiago Reza, a Halcyon exile and former artist whose family's city had been the first to fall. Any human ship would be a target, but Janelle set a course anyway. "They'll kill us," Mira warned, her robotic eye flickering. The Accord splintered overnight, but they called for help. Jox spoke their language literally. The Brothan were a race of living networks, their speech a blend of chemical scent and light, impossible for most species to parse. Jox, exiled but still kin, talked them down from panic. Janelle's crew defused a bomb meant for them, Mira hacking the Threen's own code to send a decoy signal. Reza painted a mural on the shuttle's hull before they left, a blue bird in flight, wings outstretched, symbolizing hope. With Reza and Mira, the Starling crew patched life support, shared food, even told jokes. By the time enemy ships arrived, the 2 crews stood together, Brothan and human, side by side. Then, with the crew's backing, she sent a transmission not to any one power but to all. "We have risked our lives for every side in this war, and we are tired. The galaxy cannot survive another 1,000 years of this. So here's my offer. A live feed, encrypted in every major language, using channels so old most military codes had forgotten them. Not negotiators, but survivors. Not AI, but the living witnesses from every species, brought together on neutral ground. The Impossible Pact. If any of you attack us, or each other, the whole galaxy will see." A Brothan elder collapsed, sobbing for a lost child. A Threen machine sang an ancient lullaby. Janelle called for silence, then told her own story of losing her brother in a mining collapse, saving a stranger's life, of believing that hate was a choice. And slowly something changed. People began to ask not what victory would look like, but what forgiveness might mean. "If you refuse, we'll keep saving whoever we can, and we'll keep telling the truth." Not a treaty of territory or technology, but a vow. To remember, to teach the next generation the stories of their enemies. To keep a place at the table for any voice, no matter how small. There were still scars, still battles to be fought against hunger and disease, still 1,000 hard years ahead. But for the first time, hope felt stronger than fear. That has to mean something. The war that followed was a disaster of technology and pride. For the first time in 1,000 years, enemies listened to each other's pain. Fleets clashed, planets vanished under bombardment, and ancient relics awoke to wreak havoc. The place became known as the Table. They carried stories as much as passengers. On board, ex-soldiers traded memories and grief. Poets wrote new songs in languages half the crew couldn't speak. But the galaxy was exhausted. Messages poured in, halting, suspicious, desperate. Sometimes they cried together, sometimes they fought. But in the quiet, a strange trust grew. On one world, Janelle and her crew watched helplessly as 2 enemy fleets destroyed each other, leaving nothing but a sphere of glass. Their original mission was evacuation, picking up refugees from doomed colonies, hiding in asteroid belts, ferrying medical supplies where no one else dared to go. But in the chaos, they became legends. The ship that never picked sides, the crew that could cross enemy lines, the ones who saved lives instead of counting them. Even the most advanced AI models failed to predict outcomes. The logic of escalation outpaced calculation. The galaxy spiraled toward annihilation. That's when a single human ship, the Starling, appeared on the edge of the war's most brutal front. Its captain, Janelle Weaver, was not a hero, at least, not by her own account. They had no plan to end a war. It started with a risk. A signal reached Starling, a Brothan dreadnought, crippled and drifting, its crew slowly dying as atmosphere vented into space. Maybe, Janelle replied. Inside the Brothan dreadnought, the crew found a scene of horror, wounded everywhere. Children clutching useless weapons, elders trying to keep order as the whole groaned.
Out they word spread.
A Halcyon shuttle, trapped behind 3 in lines, called for aid, and Starling answered. In every rescue, Starling broke some rule, violating quarantine, ignoring no-fly zones, hacking ancient machines, or simply refusing to leave anyone behind. With every risk, the legend of Starling spread. They became a symbol and welcome to warlords, cherished by civilians, respected even by their supposed enemies. But the war worsened. Each power, desperate not to lose face, doubled down. AI strategies grew more ruthless. Whole planets disappeared. In that moment, Janelle snapped. If we keep picking up the pieces, there'll be nothing left. We need to make them stop. Reza looked at her, haunted. How Janelle thought for a long time. She began simply. I'm Janelle Weaver, captain of the Starling. We have saved your people and buried your dead. She laid it out, a plan for a ceasefire, 1 week. Overseen not by the Accord's broken council, but by the civilians themselves, Janelle offered Starling as the vessel for the first talks. No one thought it would work. A convoy of ships, Halcyon, Brothan, Threen, human, many more converged on the coordinates Starling provided, the ruins of a forgotten station orbiting a blue giant. The first meeting was chaos. Old enemies glared, old wounds ached, translators failed, AI protocols triggered alarms. Reza painted banners of hope, Jox and Myra organized food and power, and survivors from every side traded stories. It wasn't easy. There were threats, sabotage attempts, fights. Starling's hull took hits more than once, but the world was watching. In the last session, the survivors wrote the first articles of the Impossible Pact. When the war ended, not with a shot but a handshake, the galaxy wept. And in the history of the Accord, the name that was never forgotten was Starling, the ship that broke the cycle. The crew that risked everything, and the human stubbornness that showed the galaxy how to start again.